Okay.
Okay. Whew, let me turn down my TV. As I'm trying to hear everything that's going on. Oh. No one expects me to be on at this late hour, but I am here. I am here. We are on in 5. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you in this holy season, this Christmas season. May God bless you. You know, I am the Christmas girl. I love it. I love it. I love it. But it's also a holy season because a lot of our brothers and sisters across religions are celebrating holidays. And so, as we are recording, this is the first day of Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights. We send our love to our Jewish brothers and sisters, and we send them so many prayers of comfort as they are looking at a tragedy in Australia, a shooting. There are so many pieces that we do not know, but we do know that one of the persons who stopped the shooting was a Muslim. But let us be very clear that beyond, it's not a religious fight in the Middle East. It really is a fight about property and money and power. It's a political fight. And I think that when we really cast that fight correctly, we can really begin to correct what is going on. Because now we're seeing a leveling of Gaza and we see the people who are profiting from it. There really is no plan to have people come back. It just isn't. And that is not the way this is supposed to work. This is not what you do. Have you done that, Mark? But that's all right. I love my Mark. Reverend Mark Thompson, Make It Plain podcast. He's just always doing something. And of course, the president emeritus of the National Organization of Women, Attorney Terry O'Neill, brilliant civil rights lawyer. And we're going to be talking about this, everybody. And of course, sending so much love to our children and to the Brown University community. My niece just graduated from Brown this past spring. And I could only imagine what these families have gone through. Someone walked into the engineering building, and this young man, Mr. Erickson, and he has a military background. There are a lot of pieces that we just don't have, but it's just a tragedy. It's a tragedy. And we could say it's the guns, but it really is us. It really is. You know, the guns, well, that's the means, but violence starts in the heart, everybody. Have to look at who we are and where we are supposed to be going. So let us send our love and prayers to the people, because I have to be honest with you, during finals, everything happens. Bomb threats, all kinds of things. People are trying not to take those exams. It's true. It used to happen to me when I was in college. We were like, okay. But this sadly was not what happened here. 2 people have died. 2 people have been killed. And at least 9 people are hospitalized as we speak. And a whole community has been shaken to its core, because I've been to Providence so many times. My dear, dear friends, the Caprios and Mark Weiner. I just have another family, really, in Rhode Island. And when I go there, what strikes me about Brown is that it's an open campus. I mean, Brown is Providence and Providence is Brown. Yeah. So you see people in the neighborhood walking through the campus proper, walking their dogs, jogging, and on and on and on, because it's open, because Providence is that kind of place. So let's send our love and prayers to so many who are hurting today. We've been waiting for this report from Roots Action. And quite frankly, the report that I was reading from 2016 was applicable to 2024. But of course, it was different candidates, different campaign. And boy, this report is thorough. And we need to examine it, take it apart for the next few days, because I think that if we really get to the core of what happened in 2024, we can make some fundamental corrections, if we're going to be honest, if we really, really want to get things right, not just with the party, but with the direction of the nation. Because let us be very clear, this is less a left-right, side-to-side fight and more of an up-down fight. It's not really 1%, it's like 0.0011%. who own more than half of the world's wealth.
Mm-hmm.
That's very few people who own too much, and most people own nothing at all. We are begging for health care in the United States. Something about that doesn't work. We have a public school system that could work, but they won't let it work. Let's just keep on going. We have more than 10 million vacancies in housing in the United States. Every homeless person could be housed. We've chosen not to house them.
Mm-hmm.
So, this report from Roots Action Autopsy: How Democrats Lost the White House. You remember in November 2022, Norman Solomon, Jeff Cohen, Sam Rosenthal, India Walton, and our whole family at Roots Action, I just love them. They had a Don't Run Joe campaign. You remember that, Reverend Mark Thompson? And it was heresy. They were blaspheming the Democrats. They said, no, we know that there are some issues here. And if you clear the decks, because he said he was going to be a transitional president anyway, if you clear the decks, well, that will allow us to have a full bodied primary process, and the best person hopefully will win, even though we all know that that's not how that generally works out. Ask Bernie Sanders, but and Elizabeth Warren. So let us keep on. No, and we need to look at that too. That having been said, they identified five main reasons for the failure of this campaign, and they called it Harris's failure. But I have to tell you, I think the campaign failed her. There were some things that she could have done better, of course, but she was also not the captain of her ship, but a captive of it. She was running with Joe Biden's team on his money. And she was running with people who had been trying to push her overboard. Let's keep it real now, because the books are coming out. The stories, Terry O'Neill, they're coming out. They did not want her to run in 2024. So the fact that there were only 1.5 million votes that stood between her and Donald Trump, it's pretty astounding that with her not being able to say anything about Gaza, because they talked about voter disenchantment, Biden's betrayal. Let me just go through these very quickly. Voter disenchantment, losing a whopping 6.8 million voters who supported Biden or in 2020 proved pivotal in this extremely close election. But remember, she got 77 million votes. President Trump got 78.5 million votes. 90 million people did not vote. Think about that, everybody. Biden's betrayal, former President Joe Biden's disastrous decision to run for the reelection, and his stubborn refusal to step aside until very late in the process, leaving her only 107 days. Abandoning the working class base, the Gaza effect, as they call it, losing young voters. Wow, I think it's very honest, it's very earnest, it's forthright. So everyone who's over here, correctional officer for the lockdown city, you so much love you and your grandbaby. Snowman, Bernadette, like and share, everybody. Daryl, everybody like and share, like and share, like and share. Of course, join the Make It Plain podcast. Make It Plain podcast. And I'm going to of course, be sharing this with Reverend Mark Thompson, who's got a lot of opinions, and attorney Terry O'Neill. I know you got a lot of opinions. You've been talking about this since ever since. So let's start with you, Attorney Terry O'Neill. What say you?
They talk about not really reaching out to the working class and losing a lot of working class votes. And I think that's true, but I think the context in which that happens is that there really aren't very many middle class votes to be had. I think it's the Democrats have not, the moderate, so-called moderate corporatist Democrats haven't wrapped their brain around the fact that here it is, 2025. In the early 2000s, people started noticing that the middle class was shrinking. Well, today, I live in Tennessee now, and in the entire state of Tennessee, two adults and one child, that household has to bring in almost $75,000 a year just to make their immediate payments. That is $75,000 a year, which does not allow you to save for your own retirement, to save for your kids' college. It doesn't allow you to save up for a down payment on a mortgage. So and that is, I think the median income right now is nationwide is not a whole lot over $75,000. So what you have is, and it is not a middle class income in Tennessee to make $75,000. That is a barely keep your head above water income. If it was a middle class income, you would have money for an emergency as well as creating a nest egg and getting a house, being able to buy a house. No, that really doesn't exist for the vast majority of Americans. So when centrist Democrats are thinking that they can leave the working class behind, right? They're thinking that they're going to get a lot of votes from middle class suburbanites, right? And this is how I can just see when Kamala Harris teamed up with Representative Cheney, right? I think that's what she and the other and other Democrats had in their head was they're gonna reach out to this great middle of America. The problem is the middle America has gone away.
Hold on, because that was it's like no one can say the word poverty.
Right.
Poor people.
No.
Here, I mean, Mark, I know I got an amen there, but Terry, I want to stay with that point with you right now, because it's like they're speaking past people, and folks are hurting out here.
Exactly.
And they don't have middle class incomes.
No,
they don't.
In 1970, well over 30% of employees were unionized, right? In 2025, in the private sector, I think the unionization rate has gone below 5% in the private sector. In the public sector, it's not a lot better. I think it's less than 20% in the public.
So what does that mean?
What that means is union households are middle class earning households. If you have a firefighter and a teacher, right, in that household, they are bringing in $150,000 between them. Sometimes more than $150,000 a year. And if they're in a union, at least back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, they had pensions. It wasn't just the money coming in the door this year, it's the pension that they had. Pensions are all but gone. Now, 401ks are not at all the same as a pension. They don't give you near as much financial economic security as a pension does. So what do we not have in 2025? We don't have unions. We don't have pensions. So now what has happened? What is the nest egg? Most people who own a house, that is their pension plan. A lot of people don't have 401ks. Maybe they've had to dive into their 401ks to pay for their kids' college or to pay for their own health emergency very often. The 401ks they're not like a pension. They're not going to give them that economic security, but what they do have is a house, right? And you see a lot of people talk about NIMBYism. I actually am very understanding of people who are extremely antsy about what are you doing in my neighborhood and what is it going to do to the value of my house? Because why? Because they don't have a pension. That house is their pension. So to say that you're in the middle class is a very different. You're describing something very, very different from what it was in the 1970s and 80s. And
today, middle class is an aspiration, not an actuality, right?
It's not an actuality, no. And unfortunately, a lot of the people in control of the Democratic Party have their heads stuck firmly in the 80s and 90s when that was not obvious. And it's 2025, and frankly, it's young people. It's people like Zohran Mamdani who understands that is not what we have today in 2025. And Zohran Mamdani, he doesn't use this phrase, but it seems to me that's the phrase to use, is market failure. His theory of change, his pitch to the electorate was, we've got massive market failures in our community. If there's a food desert in the community because a big multinational grocery store came in and outcompeted all of the mom and pop stores till they were gone and still couldn't make enough money for the profit maximizing, extractors and exploiters. So they shut down that national chain grocery store and left this neighborhood with a food desert. That's a market failure, and government's obligation is to go in there and create a grocery store at cost and make it available for the people in the community until such time as someone wants to come in and create a grocery store of their own. That's market failure governance, and it makes a lot of sense. But I don't think the people in control of the Democratic Party have any concept that housing, education, healthcare is nothing but a market failure in this country anymore. And it has got government's obligation to step in and provide the things that the market has decided they can't profit maximize off of. So they're not going to do it. Until the Democratic Party wraps its brain around that reality for people's everyday lives, they're going to continue to lose elections, in my opinion.
Well, let me pivot to you, Reverend Mark Thompson. Make It Plain, this fantastic podcast that, wait a minute, I was going to say that I have yet to be on, but I went in studio with him. It's serious. We did have a great time. I love my Reverend Mark Thompson. And you know what? Let me dovetail into...
And you eulogized Roberta Flack on my show.
Oh,
really?
Remember? Yeah, you came on the show. You came on the show.
I sure did. I sure did come on the show.
Whole hour on Roberta Flack. That's right.
But that was so hard because I've known her all of my life, and so 2025 has been a year where my foundational people have transitioned into the ancestors, and it's been a hard year, but I am so grateful for Dwight and for Miss Flack and for Renee Ferguson. A couple of my classmates from college, some of my people, and I thank God that I've had them in my life, and thank you for that, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about Miss Flack, who means everything. And nobody's worried about that dog. It's all right. That's real life. But you know what? Correctional officer for the lockdown, I'm always acknowledging his granddaughter, who is... her bell ring for cancer is scheduled for February 6, 2026. And we thank God for that. And we're looking at Congress now, and the tax subsidies for ACA. Well, it's a chance that a very, very great, a high likelihood that they won't pass. I mean, it's not like ACA. And this is not about President Obama. This is about the process. This is not personal for me. We need Medicare for all. People still going broke because the health insurance industry wrote this to keep themselves in business. And this is what we've got. And so if you're running for president and you're not addressing what's driving bankruptcies, Reverend Thompson, which is healthcare costs. I mean, the University of Chicago is $100,000 a year. I mean, as tragic as what's happening at Brown is, that school's $100,000 a year before you even blink your eyes. Right. You haven't paid a bill. You haven't done anything. It is so. Who can afford that? I mean, so you tell me, because you've been talking to people. Not only do you have this brilliant podcast, but you are a minister. You're out with people. You're between Washington, New York. You're all over the country, but you really have, you have these poles in these epicenters, right? So as we were in the campaign, and now that we're through it, what do you think about this autopsy, if you will? What do you think about their observations? What do you see?
Well, I agree pretty much with the 5 points. But let me first of all say, it's good to see Terry. I became a life member of the National Organization for Women under Terry O'Neill's presidential tenure. I did so in memory of my mother when she passed. And it is good to see her. And Terry's talking about that $75,000 a year to live in. You must not live in Nashville.
Oh no! I went online to look for Tennessee overall, but Nashville is like 85,000. Yeah.
What I would think is more, because from what I can tell, I live in New York now. It costs more money to live in Nashville now than it does in New York. And Nashville is where I grew up. In fact, when my mother was ill, and my son and I were living here in New York. My mother was ill, my grandparents were ill, and I was going to Nashville once a week to provide care for them.
Mm.
I had to contemplate moving back home. But when I
Mm.
looked at it, it was cheaper for me to commute to and from Nashville than to relocate from New York to
From New
Nashville.
York City.
Cost of living. The
Wow.
was it Reuters? I think did a story just this week about how all the European vacationers don't come to New York anymore. They come to Nashville. So Nashville is skyrocketed, and it's like a lot of these cities.
Yeah.
Once the cost of living is so high in one place, people go to the next place, drive up the cost of living there, and then it'll be the next place after that. Maybe it'll be Clarksville or whatever it will be.
Right.
But you're right. That is the erosion of a middle class. People keep moving. Nashville has exploded
Yeah.
because this was a working class looking for an affordable place to live that had fun things to do. Now the working class it can't afford to be, or the middle class, you say. Actually, I don't think the middle class exists anymore. And even though it's an aspiration, it's not a realistic one. I believe the middle class is now what is the working poor. Now,
Yes.
many don't want to say that. Those of us who are activists aren't afraid to say it, but a lot of people don't want to admit, hey, I'm in the working poor. But deep down, they know they are. That's
Why
not
do
the
you say
proudest
that?
thing.
Why
I'm
do you
sorry.
say? Why do you say
Well,
that?
there's still some, and this is one of the things I think Reverend Barber has always been struggling with. Saying that I'm poor
Mm-hmm.
still has, unfortunately, some shame to it. But people, we got to get past that if we're going to build a movement. We can't deal with pride. You had some folk in segregation, as you know, Santita. They just knew how to navigate it and could still dress nice in their clothes and do what they needed to do. People are like, that's not
But
not acceptable.
but wait a minute, Reverend Marks.
We've
But,
got to
but hold
say,
that point. Hold that
okay,
point, because I want you to, because I think you're hitting on something that
okay,
I don't want us to go past,
yes, ma'am,
because we came from poor people, working poor people, enslaved people. But you had middle class, if you would, aspirational values.
yes,
So
yes, yes, yes,
we placed more emphasis on your value system
Mm-hmm.
than what you had in your pocketbook.
yes,
Now wouldn't you say? I mean, because that to me that's what's a little bit different. Because
yes,
today everybody on TV, these Real Housewives this Real Housewife, all the shows, a franchise. I'm like, I don't know any housewife, and I knew some who were well off. You were working your tail off.
yeah,
Nobody has time just to sit there and do like this all day. No, who does that?
yeah,
And so we're telling, at least even in the 50s, Mama had on an apron and she was cooking and cleaning something. Even though we know that was okay. I get it. I understand Leave It to Beaver was not true. I get it. But you know what? People were working.
Well, to put a finer point on it, Terry, believe it was also in your tenure that we started to see a shift, even in amongst white middle class. I'm talking about middle class white, middle class black, everybody now.
Yeah.
There was a shift. Now we see these numbers as they've increased annually. More women are heads of households, even
Oh,
in white families.
Mhm.
So it is mythical that folk just sitting at home doing a June Cleaver
yes.
anymore. And if they are, it's because the job market's dried up and women are losing more jobs disproportionately to men.
Mhm.
But that's still work. So the point is, I think that the Democratic Party, I think the campaign even, and I'm not ready to say they're malicious because we still need them. It was a malicious move. I think it was naivete. It was and it's always this take for grantedness. Well, the working poor slash aspiring middle class has no choice but to do this and to vote for this. And no one considered even how that constituency, our constituency, which most of us are part of, because just about, I don't know, no one, and I know you got some wealthy people listening to your show, Santita, but most of us are 2 paychecks away from homelessness. That's just
Two. Now,
Two.
you're being very generous.
It's Christmas though. It's Christmas.
Oh,
So,
okay. You know, most people living from payday to Monday. You
that's
know
right.
that.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So I mean, we just got to be real about that. And Barbara said it, others said it. What was the agenda for the working poor? So yeah, while it looked good, it
Hmm.
looked conciliatory to stand with Liz Cheney. That's
Mhm.
just not gonna. That alone is not gonna do it. But I think the biggest thing of all that we really need to point to was that debate. uh, Joe Biden performed. Joe Biden's a good man. There's no question about that. But he performed terribly in that debate, and it was costly. It was difficult to recover from that.
Mhm.
And he should have been one term. But again, let's get back to the women question. If if Joe Biden's vice president is a white male, you have a runway for that person to succeed that one term president. But I know for a fact, Kamala. I have to wait for Kamala to put it in the book because I saw it, I witnessed it. And she had even, I can now say, things she said in the book, she said to me privately. She
Mhm.
said to me in Selma, Alabama, when she came to visit, she pulled me to the side. She said, Mark, they're afraid of me. They don't want me to do anything. When she came to Selma to speak for the president, they would not let us advertise that she was coming. The White House wouldn't.
Hmm. Hmm.
They didn't want anybody to know because there was always this concern that her popularity. Remember now, Chris Dodd said she was too ambitious. And that is what ended up us forcing them to pick her. He said, well, you can't discriminate against a woman for being ambitious. Then
Mhm.
they wanted to put somebody else up to be the nominee. We're like, no, no, no. You can't skip over the woman vice president.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so those were the real so that unwillingness to get fully behind and hand the baton early on to a woman and to a black woman is really, to me,
Yeah.
the biggest problem in the autopsy. People had 107 days to try to get themselves together. Okay, I'm going to vote for a woman. We know where we live. We know what this country is. We know sexism is still real. But
Mhm.
if you know that a year out, if she starts running a year out or 18 months out, then you begin to deal with that. And that's not to say that she still would have won because we still live in an electorate that has a thing against women. But that's hard to do what was done in 107
Mhm.
days. Still monumental.
But also they did not want her.
Right.
Biden's people did not like her.
Right.
That has been look, and she was running with people who had tried to get her off the ticket 2 years before.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
Mhm.
mean, look, all this stuff is out in the public square now. So I mean, what?
Yeah.
I mean, so that's where she was. But you know what? She had her shot and she took it.
Yeah.
But what I think,
Very close.
but she was very close. That having been said, she couldn't say anything about Gaza. And in the meanwhile, while people are more horrified every day by what's happening over there in real time,
Mhm.
her husband, I don't doubt his support of her. He's trying to reassure his community because, of course, he's Jewish, but he's saying that our policy on Israel is not going to move.
Mm.
That's not what people want to hear.
No.
It's like, wait a minute, you all don't even understand that you've lost the room.
Yeah.
And all you have to do, I mean, Mark has young children. They are more than a generation behind me. And what I'm saying, and I have nieces and nephews and godchildren, Terry
Mhm.
O'Neill.
Mhm. Mhm.
They're not binary in terms of their party affiliations. They were so turned off by this campaign, they said, they're not talking to me. I had young black kids who went to the Browns and the Harvards and the Bates colleges. I mean, the colleges that are so elite that no one really knows that they exist, but they are $100,000 a year. One of them said to me, young black kid, he said, you know what? I'm trying to figure out how you run as Divine Nine with the black community. I said, oh, what do you mean? He said, that's so elite. He said, most folks can't relate to that.
Wow.
Because the sorority, I'm in a sorority. It's a few of us on the campus who even, uh, a chunk of us rush, but very, very few people. That were when I was at Howard, there were 10,000 people there. Okay, there were 54 of us on my line. You do the math.
Mm.
And we had a huge line. Okay, so okay, so and you're fighting to still blend in with the students when you become part of a sorority or fraternity. I'm just saying you got to be careful about how you. I mean, this, what sorority and fraternity life is like in college. Come on, but when we're talking about when people are looking at egg prices that are going through the roof, when folks cannot afford their utilities. I mean, during the campaign, I didn't hear anything about that. When you're watching Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL had a meeting with leadership, and he said, what you don't understand is that you think this is a right-left fight. This is a generational fight. We've lost the kids. And what we didn't hear him say, but what we see, they're on the right and the left, they're not coming back. So, I mean, and you cannot, and so at the convention, you can't disallow one of the Palestinians who has been Palestinian Americans who's been working with you for decades, someone you trust. You can't not let her speak at the convention.
Right.
I mean, just for example, you can't not mention poverty.
Yeah.
Too many people are poor. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, they said the Gaza effect, losing young voters. Why do you think they lost young voters? Somebody tell me. What happened?
I mean, I don't know if this is relevant. I thought of it because what Mark was saying about and you, Santita, about the attacks on inside the Democratic Party on Kamala Harris. We just had a special election here in Tennessee for a congressional seat, and the young woman who won a four-way primary. There was a whispering campaign during the general election. After the primary comes this whispering campaign from Democrats, mostly baby boomers and Gen X, saying, just whispering about her. They were very upset with her because she had been out on social media, and they were like, she's trashing Nashville. She's criticizing Nashville. And then they were challenged on that. And what do you mean? She was complaining about the gentrification of Nashville, actually. And here's what the whispering campaign then pivoted to. It's not what she says. It's how she says it.
Do you see Karen Spencer McGee here? She said, Memphis, Tennessee. You want to read it, Mark?
Memphis, Tennessee is in the house, and yes, Nashville is so freaking gentrified and pushing longtime Nashvillians away to Murfreesboro and Clarksville. I couldn't imagine Nashville surpassing Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee has the highest taxes and gets very little on the returns. Who's been asking for a forensic audit since 2009? Me. And Memphis is really struggling. Y'all playing those taxes. The job market in Memphis is there. And Karen, I hate to break news to you, but the governor is conspiring to move the Grizzlies to Nashville, so Memphis will be even more hollowed out. The other thing, though, everything you said is real, but and you too, Terry. You mentioned what they said about Afton. It's the way she says it. Where did we hear that before? We heard that around 2016. It's that same type of sexism. And in terms of the Real Housewives, these reality shows. The Biden transition Harris campaign was his own reality show. Yes, the Bidens did not like her, but the Bidens had to choose who they were going to punish. Were they going to punish her and the rest of us, or were they going to punish those who forced him out? And so the agreement was he would drop out and they'd hold this little mini primary. He went public and said, I'm dropping out, and then tweeted, I'm supporting Kamala Harris, and everybody lost their minds.
Wait a minute. Was that the crazy? Come on now, hold on.
So that was a reality show.
Wait, no, it was. Wait a minute, hold on, stop. Wait a minute. Hold on, because I think we forget how crazy all of that was, Mark. And then you get to the convention and there's a COVID outbreak.
Right.
That's right.
No, there's that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just.
Yeah.
No, but I think, and for people to try and rally around that, And then they're not hearing their issues too, Mark. I mean, in the midst of, because you're saying, I mean, what you're bringing up is, I think, please expound upon that, because you're living through this reality show. You're seeing Beyonce and Kelly, and you're seeing who is it? The young Megan Thee Stallion. So you're seeing that. You're seeing these stars who are coming out, but you're not hearing anyone talk about poverty. And I realize there's a lot of shame that people feel about, oh, I don't make enough money, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? That's when you need, I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody. I'm Black, I'm beautiful, red, yellow, black, brown, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Yeah, I'm giving you Reverend Jesse Jackson, but you know what? That matters, because you should, your worth is not your net worth. I mean, you can't take that to heaven with you. When you saw Princess Diana roll down the streets of London, you had 2 cars on top of that casket to mummy. That was it. All those jewels were left at Kensington or wherever they were. It doesn't matter. And you know what? Leadership has a responsibility to tell people, you are more than this.
Right.
You know, the system, you didn't fail. The system has failed you. They don't say that. They're like, oh, everything is great. People could not afford eggs.
Right.
I mean, help me.
So I think too, just one other thing I'd say at this point, and then I turn it back to Terry, but in this autopsy of the 5 points, I think the overarching point that affects the other 5 are Biden's refusal to drop out. Because you cannot figure out, it's hard to figure out what issues to prioritize out of, say, 5 to 10 issues in just 107 days. It is practically impossible to do that. And so she had her hand tied behind her back. And then you've got the same staff. So the deal was, okay, you're taking this, but you've got to keep my staff, who was resentful, right? And then you had the
wait a minute, of her.
Then
and
you
of
had
those who put her out, because they felt he'd been clowned during the Obama administration. So they were already upset about that. Because they felt that he was condescended to, although he was the guy who had everybody's business, because he was head of judiciary. So don't feel sorry for old Joe. No one was deeper in the game than Joe Biden.
Well, and to be clear, some of us spoke out when Obama picked him. If Joe Biden is really the cause of Clarence Thomas being on the Supreme Court, okay?
Joe wait a minute, because I was never into Joe Biden. Now I accepted it, but wait a minute. Before I get to Clarence Thomas, I got to look at what he did to Ed Brooke when he betrayed him on busing, which helped to push Ed Brooke, the only Black senator we had, a Lincoln Republican, who put his whole career on the line to save busing. He said, we cannot undercut Brown v. Board of Education, that we can't undercut that decision. We have to fulfill the promise of it. He went and helped Joe Biden run for office and win. And he said, all I ask you to do is support me on busing. As soon as Biden got to the U.S. Senate, he did just the opposite. He betrayed him. And just all of his politics have been very right wing. Mark, come on, Terry.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, and
so I mean that's why I had issues with him. Although I know the politics you can push someone in another direction, and I can appreciate that, right?
Well,
but when we're talking about this autopsy, are we talking about it? I'm just saying, let's talk about it, because because all of you, I'm so glad that I have both of you, because both of you are people who've been in the room. So Mark is like, okay, now I'm freed up to say. I couldn't say it in real time, but heaven knows I wanted to, because people didn't know that she was walking upright, but you don't know what she was carrying. I mean, I mean, so who? Well, okay. Was it anyone? Okay, because after they went through this executive summary, the next page was introduction, a multitude of sins. I mean,
Yeah.
external factors, voter disinformation, racism, and sexism, which, Mark keeps going back to sexism. No one wants to talk about that because, look, if they were not going to take Hillary,
Yeah.
there is no one in the history of American politics who has been more qualified to be president of the United States. You don't have to like everything she does.
Right.
But even her husband said she's more qualified than me.
Mm-hmm. And she did win by 3 million votes. And that, she didn't get the electoral college, but she won. She won the election.
She won by 3 million votes.
Yeah. Yeah, she did. And I think that was in spite of all the sexism that was being thrown at her. So
Wait. Hold on. The party threw her under the bus. We would put up signs for Hillary Clinton in Chicago. And it got to a place where we would drive around the corner and the signs would be pulled up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, of course. That said, Hillary Clinton was and is very corporate, very centrist.
Yeah.
It's possible. I mean, so the question in my mind is, did she win by 3 million votes in part because she was corporatist and centrist, or did she lose the electoral college because even in 2016 the electorate was not middle class? People are, and when you're talking about working class, you're talking about the gig economy. Because it was over the period of time that I was president of Now, I'm talking to a lot of unions, working with a lot of unions, and they were talking about the gig economy as they lost membership, and more employers are now non-unionized. People have 2 and 3 jobs. Like if you're a cashier at Walmart, you have no control over your schedule, and you don't get 40 hours predictably. You might get 30 hours, you might get 25 hours one week. You don't know from week to week, but what you do know is you're probably not going to be even able to work 40 hours. So what do you have to do? You have to get that second job. That's really hard because they won't tell you what your schedule is more than 2 weeks in advance. So it's hard to even get a second job that you can keep. So the gig economy is vicious. It's hard, and when we say working class, really by 2010, by at least by the middle of Obama's presidency, working class really meant 2 jobs, and now it means basically 3 jobs, right? So I don't actually know. I mean, I'm wondering whether. I previously thought, well, Hillary Clinton got as many votes as she did because she's centrist, and this is a centrist country, and it's not what I want it to be, but maybe that's wrong. Maybe in fact she would have done better if she had said, you know what, centrism may have been the right thing to do in the 1990s, but it isn't anymore. It's not. We've got some real problems created by the corporatist move in American politics, and we need to make a change. If she had said that, who knows what could have been the outcome. But Joe Biden won his primaries in 2020, remember, because he was seen as the conservative white guy that could beat Trump.
Right.
Wait a minute. And wait. The Democrats pushed him out, and they pushed Bernie under the bus. If there was a rumor but I live in Chicago, it is 1 degree above zero right now. It wasn't quite that cold in Chicago, but Chicago winters are brutal. We were downtown in the run up to the Illinois primary. There were more than 50,000 people, and the crowd was growing in Chicago. Outside, no one could. He didn't have that kind of pull. It was decided he was not elected; he was selected.
Who did it? Come on, name the name. I mean, it wasn't a big conspiracy. It wasn't that complicated.
No, it was a plan, and it was the establishment.
You sure about that? Yeah. Remember what happened now. He's done. He's in South Carolina.
We're asking him,
South Carolina.
please get out.
Right. But
Please
what
get
happened
out.
in South Carolina?
Well, I know it was Clyburn made a call, but guess what? Then Obama was calling everybody and telling them to get out the race. It was the establishment. I'm just saying, and then you got the weakest candidate, and you made him first. You took the guy at the bottom who everyone, because he kept saying, "Wait till I get to South Carolina." I was like, "What's going to happen in South Carolina?" And I was in South Carolina. We were like, "What is he going? What's going to happen in South Carolina?" When he's losing everything. Oh, you all look. I'm exhausted. I don't think. Why did I want to talk about this tonight?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, no. I'm gonna go right here to Mark, correctional officer for the lockdown. Is Mark? He said, Reverend Mark, I'm asking for you. What would you suggest for older Black males who feel shunned, ignored, but want to return to the battlefront? These brothers often want to have their voices heard, but are denied. And you know what? I want you to answer that question, but I also want Terry O'Neill to answer that question, because after Hillary and after Kamala, I want to know what women are supposed to do.
So I'll let Terry take the whole thing because I'm offended by the question. Why am I being asked what older Black men need to do? How would I possibly know?
How can I remove him from the stage?
Anything about what older Black men are going to do?
Well, no, that's right, you sweet young thing. Just think about it. This is an aspirational question.
How would I know? What's interesting is that you could take that question and take old out of it and put younger in there too. Black men in general are on the outskirts and disaffected. But I want to be clear, and Santita, you and I have talked about this before too. Black men have been targeted for disinformation more than any other group. And the proof in that is, you saw the social media. Black men didn't want to vote for Hillary, and they did. I mean, didn't want to vote for Kamala, and they did, still in majority numbers. But Black men voted in even greater numbers for Abigail Spanberg and Mikey Sherrill. Now, wait a minute now. A greater percentage of Black men voted for the two white women governors, and I'm glad they won, than voted for Kamala Harris. In fact, the numbers show that a greater percentage of Black women voted for Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill. Let me just say this. One thing the autopsy leaves out is that, and I'll get to the question. He said, sorry, Brother Reverend Mark, I'm 59, but come in peace. Thank you. I appreciate
look, he said it. I had to put it out there.
Right. So let me just say this. My personal account is still on TikTok, but my show, Make It Plains, my show account, I had to create a new one, was banned from TikTok because I had the Election Truth Alliance talk about the other part of the autopsy and how there's some anomalies in some of these states. There's no way in the world 350,000 Democrats in North Carolina voted for school superintendent and left the presidential line blank. That's just that can't be. There's not that much sexism, and there wasn't 350,000 white men or 350,000 Black men either. So we did that segment live like we are now, and TikTok, which Trump is dealing with, banned my broadcast from that platform for having that conversation. I'm just going to let everybody know that. So that tells you something right there. We must be on to something. That's just one state. But in answer to the question, my brother, young and old, it applies. We've got to understand how we are deliberately targeted for misinformation and not give into it. As Santita said, let's go back to our history. There was no shame coming out of the period of enslavement through the Great Migration. Both adults in the household worked. Black men didn't have a problem with that. Black men weren't running around saying, oh, no, I can't have this, and I can't have my wife or my spouse or my significant other being more successful than me or doing anything. No. No.
Right.
So this whole
culturally,
thing,
we were in a different place too, because we were not trying to. We understood the struggles that we were facing as people, and we did not diminish our men because the teacher was married to the janitor.
That's right.
Okay. We
That's
didn't
right.
have an issue with that.
That's right.
First of all, my father told me, you might, if you marry, great. If you don't, great. You can have a great life either way. He
Right.
said, but make sure that he has a mind to work, a
Yeah.
spirit to work, that he has enough manhood that he will get up out of that bed and go to work every day. He's going to because that's part of who he is. Not that he'll make the effort, but that's part of who he is. Even if you make more money than him, and you do not diminish him because of that.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the issue that we got going on now, that we diminish people. I don't care what it is. It could be in a romantic relationship. It could be with friends. We diminish people based upon income,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
are paying for that.
Yeah. But again, that is the reality TV-ification. I just made that TV-ification. That's a word I made up, and the disinformation
Yes,
that
it
pits black women against black men. Two quick things. Some of you will remember when it's not as popular as it was, but when that social media medium came out called Clubhouse, and everybody
yeah.
was having discussions every night. Every night the Lord sent, there were rooms with these two topics without fail. Several. Black men versus black women versus black men.
Mm.
Africans versus African Americans, and African Americans versus Africans. That was not a coinky dink.
Mhm.
Because now the Clubhouse has gone by the wayside. You don't; those rooms don't exist. You don't have those kind of conversations out in the open. But is the kind of thing that pits us. Another thing I'll say in closing on this topic, my brother who asked, 100 years after coming out of the experience of enslavement, we had something. We just celebrated the 30th anniversary of the Million Man March. The only time in history where a group of men stood up to atone for our shortcomings and pledge reconciliation and responsibility to our women and our families. Now, that would have been difficult to do in this disinformation climate if we were to start that today. In fact, as one who organized the 30th anniversary, it was hard to do. But that's what we're about. That's what kings do. Kings serve. Kings don't just rule and have people serve them. And so we've got to get back to that. So, my brother, that's what I would say to black men, young and old, black men your age of 59, black men my age, I'm Gen Z. I would say to them,
No, he's 45.
this is the responsibility that we have and that we must make and take on behalf of, and stand up
Mhm.
and be men and support everyone, whatever, however they identify. Women, we shouldn't be threatened by our women being successful. We shouldn't be threatened by members of our family who are LGBTQIA either. We all a part of this, and we should support one another. That's the way we need to talk. And
And the
don't let
thing is,
social media change your mind about that.
yeah, but the thing is, we've not had that issue. The thing is, we might disagree with where you are, if it's been a choice or if it's something that's intrinsically you. But that is not something that has truly been, and in the Black community, we love our children. I mean, that's what, that's why, a lot of white kids who are LGBTQIA plus
Mhm.
end up coming to Black homes.
Mhm.
Because even if you disagree, mom ain't gonna put you out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And so it's like, wait a minute, y'all have that discussion someplace else, because our issues are even more fundamental than that. Because whatever your identification in terms of your personal, whoever has a key that fits your lock, as a Black person walking down the street, you are more arrestable.
Right.
You got some problems walking through the door. Everybody
That's right.
knows. I
Yeah.
literally have like a couple of minutes left here. In the next hour, we're going to kind of carry over this conversation, but we're also going to talk about, is it Sharon Moore from the University of Michigan?
Mm.
I'll send you a link. Don't worry, Mark. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
you doing a lot. You're doing a lot. You dealing with this. You're gonna do that too. That's a lot. It's a
I'm
lot.
doing that. I know it is, but
A lot.
we're not gonna have the whole conversation. We're just gonna start it. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna send you all a link right now. But everyone, yeah, we're gonna talk about it because there's a lot to unpack, and I think that everything is coming out at this. Carl Carlton, Bad Mama Jamma, he made his transition.
Oh no.
Oh, and that's my mother's favorite song. She's a bad man.
Man,
Yeah.
ma'am, jamma. Wow. Oh
Oh,
no.
I can't call. I can't tell her that because I think she'll pass out tonight.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I know that just came across breaking news. We love you, Carl Carlton.
Oh
That,
no.
no.
oh, wait a minute. He is now with the Angels. He is boogieing up to the gates. Come
Yeah.
on, go, Carl. Go,
Mm.
Carl Carlton. Look, but that's it. But I want to get some closing thoughts from you all. I'm going to send you all links to the next hour because we're beginning like right away. But because I think it's going to take us some time to unpack this.
Yeah, it
You
is.
know, it's not. This is not something that's a one and done.
No.
You know, and what did John Howland say? The Bible is the Bible, and we all fall short, but the Bible is the Bible. And you're right. And that having been said, as you said, we all fall short, and that's where the compassion comes in. And and I think that and that's another discussion we can have another day. I promise you, we will do that. But right now, John, let us continue to unpack what happened with this campaign, because this was there's so much that she did in spite of the obstacles, and I think we need to look at that, Terry O'Neill. That, I mean, in spite of these tremendous obstacles, I mean, because it bothers me that Hillary Clinton's campaign is called a failed campaign. I'm like, she won by 3 million votes.
Right.
And wait a minute. And by the way, Vice President Al Gore won by more than 500,000 votes. If they'd continued with the counting in
Counted.
Florida, he would have won. So stop
Yeah.
it. Stop, y'all. Hold on. We have to, let's keep this factual. And for someone who was as maligned as Kamala Harris was for years, everybody mocked her giggle. And she was. It's like she couldn't do anything right, Terry. And
Mm-hmm.
yet she came within 1.5 million votes. And according to Greg Palast, a lot of her votes were absconded.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to, because we haven't looked at his autopsy the way that we should.
Yeah.
So everybody, I'm going to send you all these links, because everybody in the next hour, I know you all want to talk about this. And so we're going to talk about Sharon Moore and this autopsy, because I think that we've got to unpack this so that we can move forward. Terry O'Neill, your thoughts.
Well, I just want to go just back 2 seconds to point out that studies have been done, and it's very clear Black men, for example, are much more likely than white men to take care of their kids on the everyday basis, changing diapers, taking the kid to school, going to the parent-teacher conference, taking the child to the doctor. That actually is especially if you compare Black men who don't live in the same household as their child with white men who don't live in the same household as their child. You have significant more engagement with their children and with their co-parent than in white communities. So when you talk about what's going on with Black men, it's disinformation campaigns, and it's also deliberate disenfranchisement. You get in the state of Tennessee, fully 21% of African American voting eligible people who have served their time in prison and paid all of their fines still can't negotiate the maze of regulations to get their voting rights back. 21% statewide. So that's going on in Tennessee. It's going on less extremely in other places. I just want to say that when you talk about what's going on in the Black community is clearly targeted. And I think that what that means is if they are trying to shut you up, that's because they're very much afraid of what you might say. And if they're shutting you down because they're afraid of what you might say, you need to say it louder and more forcefully than ever, because you've got something important to say.
And if you want some more of this conversation coming to the second hour, that's right. I sent both of you links. We're going to continue this conversation and add to it. And guess what? We're going to talk about what's happening in Michigan, because there's an intersectionality. Ooh, I get that from Terry O'Neill. A lot of issues really kind of are coming together in this particular case, because even though more than half of college football players on the Division I level are Black, only 12+% of the coaches are. It's been a real struggle to get these Black coaches, Black men, to be the examples for these young Black men who are coming into the college system. And Karen Spencer McGee said, "I absolutely love Terry O'Neill. She loves
Me
you.
too.
She
Me
loves
too.
you
I
for
do
that.
too.
That's what,
Always have.
and we
I
love
love Mark
Mark,
Thompson.
Mr. Matumbo Coffee. We love you. So everybody join us on for more of this conversation and then some on the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of